being here today. My name is Margaret, and I think we're going to start off by just saying our names. So go ahead.
Judy Gordon Herman.
Steve Morgan.
Hildegard Gross Close Bender.
Catherine Kalutis Chaconis.
Don Andrews.
Marilyn Hochberg Hammerman.
Okay, great. So the first question is if you could describe what your average day was like at Wilson, some of the most important parts of your day anyway.
We took the bus. That was fun because we saw, as everybody knew what stop you were getting on. There's public transportation, cost 3 cents.
Wow.
Bus ticket. Wow. And homeroom, and we saluted the flag, and we said the prayer. Didn't we read the Bible? And read out every morning.
Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge of Allegiance, and we read a psalm. You chose a psalm. It alternated every day, whoever wanted to do it. In the class, and we had lockers. I don't know if they have lockers today. We do.
Yeah.
You do.
Yeah.
Okay. And the classes and homeroom, and lunch was fun. The cafeteria downstairs, everybody, we pretty much ate in the building if you brought or you bought. And then sports after school, and it was fun.
Does anyone else have any recollections of your average day? It was different.
I had metal shop, which actually was a jewelry making class. Last period, 7th period of the day. And it was a class that very few girls took. So it was doubly fun.
But the highlight of my day was being the only guy in the classes for typing and shorthand, which was strictly a social maneuver.
You both had the same strategy, being in the classes. That's funny.
No, and I had wood shop, and I never could stand it, to be very honest with you. I was not two-handed with my hands.
I was in the band and orchestra for 3 years, so we were in the same section, and it was the room over, it was on the left wing, over the auditorium. And we would have rehearsal, and then my first class, I guess, was math, and then you're going to want to edit this. Then we would cut school and go to Frank's and have coffee until he threw us out of the place. Cut that. Then we would come back for lunch.
I took the cooking class, and to this day, I still love to cook, and I am a gourmet cook, and I still cook. That's the first time I ever saw a popover in Mrs. Spangler's class, and we made popovers.
Most of those classes don't exist anymore at Wilson. We don't have wood shop or cooking or typing or metal shop or anything like that. Okay, so I guess the next question is, who were your favorite or least favorite teachers? I know you just mentioned Miss Spangler. And then along with that, what were your favorite memories?
Miss Best was my homeroom teacher, and she was tough. She was an English teacher, and she was really strict. But she made us learn, and you didn't fool around. She was good.
Matilda Eicher taught grammar and composition, and she was tough, but she was dynamite.
I remember Mrs. Struve. Struve, 3rd period English, just before lunch.
I remember Mrs. Best with the Iliad, and I loved it being of Greek descent. I was so proud to be able to study that.
I think my favorite teacher was Joe Carlo, that used to have the football program, and also he taught a couple of gym classes, and he was a real nice guy. I mean, I got to know him very well.
Hendrik Essers, who was the conductor of the band and the orchestra, and he inspired me to go on to Interlochen, Camp Interlochen in Michigan, and then to continue on to Juilliard as a piano major.
That's impressive. Favorite memories overall?
Frank's.
I can't remember what I had for lunch.
What was that?
I can't remember what I had for lunch.
Okay, we'll go on to the next one. What were some of the extracurriculars that you were involved in at Wilson?
Wasn't.
Sports. I was very athletic and was involved. Very athletic, and I was in all of the teams, all-star teams. And I remember taking field hockey, and the girls couldn't play field hockey, and I used to look at them and I couldn't understand it. Now I look back and realize not everybody was athletic.
I really didn't have too many activities at all, because most of my activities were I used to see a lot of my friends at Roosevelt High School, because I sort of resented my folks wouldn't send me to Roosevelt because of the boundary.
Let's see. So in October, we celebrate our homecoming week with a big dance and a spirit week. Did you guys do something similar, or what was your homecoming week like?
Well, we had football games,
Yes.
and,
Yeah.
you know, being in the band, field band, you were out there on the field playing either bass drum, glockenspiel, or whatever. We did not have a marching band. Wilson, the District of Columbia did not have enough money to have uniforms. Therefore, we could not have a marching band. All the counties in Maryland had marching bands, but the DC schools did not. So we used to sit in the stands and beat the bass drum and cheer the teams on.
We didn't have homecoming that I remember, but we had the sock hops.
Well, we had homecoming. We had a homecoming queen.
Oh, well, I don't remember.
Okay.
But I remember the sock hops
Santa swing.
and the Santa swing, and I remember how much fun we had. We triple dated once. It was with Doris and another friend, and they were fun times. And I always had a curfew.
Was that midnight or?
Midnight was pretty late, but yes, that was probably it.
It's the same, I guess, today.
Oh, it is the
Yeah.
same? Because I know from my daughter, when they went off to college, they didn't go out until 10 o'clock. And then I was up all night waiting for them to come home.
Let's see. So what was your youth culture like? Meaning, like, what were the most popular slang words, or what was considered cool at Wilson?
Well, the word cool. White socks that came up to here and skirts that came below the knee.
There's saddle shoes.
Saddle shoes,
We all
yes.
wore saddle, and loafers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to interrupt, but I want to say one thing. In deference to your generation, we are not you guys.
We were not what?
You guys.
Every time I go to a restaurant, what do you guys want?
How would you address a large group of people?
Hello?
Hello.
It's supposed to make us feel younger.
Maybe.
That's interesting. Let's see. So yeah, like, what was the fashion like, I guess? You mentioned the
Imagine, girl,
skirts
you
and-
never wore slacks, you
No.
never wore
No,
pants to
not
school.
permitted.
I don't know if it, well, in elementary school, it wasn't allowed. Even in the coldest winter days,
No.
you might wear long woolen underwear, and then you had a skirt that came down to here and leggings. And then you always wore skirts or dresses.
Yes.
That was part of the dress code?
Oh, yeah.
When you came,
No, we
when
didn't have a dress code. That was just what.
That was
we
what was
did.
accepted,
Accepted.
yeah.
when we came, at least when I came home from school, we'd take off
Our school
nice
clothes.
clothes and put on a word that you probably don't know called dungarees.
Yes.
Which was casual pants, which are today's jeans.
Yeah.
To do stuff at home or to go visit people or whatever. You would take off your school clothes, you wouldn't wear those again the rest of the day.
But you didn't have a uniform? It was
No,
No.
public
your own-
school, no. But we dressed appropriately.
Yeah, we were
Right.
covered up,
Right.
yes, nothing was ever showing
And
minis.
my husband was sent home from school one day because he wore dungarees. And my husband said, well, you know, so many other ones wear them. And I said, no, you can afford better, so you have to go home and wear regular slacks.
How do you think Wilson influenced the culture of DC in general? Like, did they play any role in the city at large?
It's the top school.
The top school?
It was that,
Yeah.
the top school.
We had a lot of congressmen's children, and the children came from the
Senators.
Navy Yard.
Hmm.
So there were a lot of Navy officers.
Warren Buffett.
Yes.
Yeah, Warren Buffett was in my sister's senior class. Yeah.
And one of our classmates, her father was a Supreme Court judge. She's not here today.
Yeah.
Who was that?
Barbara.
Dick George.
Oh, yeah.
Her father was a Supreme
Amy
Court
Morse's father was a
Was a
senator.
senator.
John
Who was the one
Stennis's
with-
father was
yeah.
a senator.
What did you say?
Alabama.
John Stennis.
He was a year ahead of us.
Yes.
White Bucks.
Yes.
Ernest Bramble.
Could I join the group a bit? Yeah, I'm Mary Jean Krieg. I'm sorry I was out of the room when the circle formed. I was supposed to be a part of it. But I'm a physician and a scientist, professor at the Rockefeller University in New York City. I will say point blank, Woodrow Wilson gave me an ideal education. Absolutely ideal education. I did well there. I worked very hard there. You ask about how it changed the fabric. Well, I was president for a year of the Junior Town Meeting League. It was a debating society. And we had many people in the Junior Town Meeting League who were sons or daughters of Congress people. And we used to debate locally, but we also were invited to a variety of embassies. So our Junior Town Meeting League made an early trip to the Soviet Union's embassy, and we made trips to many other embassies at the request. John Stennis's father, John was a year ahead of us. John Stennis's father was a famous Southern senator, and he was a very close friend of another Southern senator whose son went to St. Albans, still alive, well, private school here. That would be Al Gore. And Gore and Stennis were very close friends. Amy Morse and I had gone through elementary school together from 4th grade on. Amy Morse's father is a famous Senator Wayne Morse, late senator, who changed parties midstream. And I had the privilege on weekends of going, we didn't have anything in the country, our family was not affluent, and they used to take me out riding horses. The man that, I was active in science fairs, you guys may remember that, from 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and I went to the National Fair 10, 11, 12, won it 3 times in a row, and then was part of Westinghouse. But I also was an early, and this is something you've never heard me say before, I was an early equal rights person. And there was 2 divisions of school then. In case some of you don't know it, there was Division I and Division II. And Division I was for us, and Division II was for people of color. And I thought this was outrageous. So when the science fairs in the 10th grade were to open, I said, I'll help with them and participate yet again, but I'd like to see Division I and II meet in an off-site, which is acceptable to whoever, and have one science fair. And that was done in my 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. The 2 heads of science were Keith Johnson, Division I, Percy Rayford, Division II, and they invited me to work with the National Academy of Sciences to help create a Junior Academy of Sciences, which would be Division I, Division II nationwide, and that transpired. And I'm very proud of this because in some of our debates in the Junior Town Meeting League, I found myself with far right, far left. I didn't see myself as either, then or now. I'm just a centrist, but believes that everyone should have an opportunity and a fair opportunity, and that's always what I've stood for. So physician and scientist, professor, all this stuff, but I was very happy, and I look around, and I'm very happy at what was ultimately accomplished with many after me who were much more senior and into politics. But you never know, a kid's voice can make a great deal of difference if you just speak out what's in your heart. And I recommend to you guys, I have kids in my lab every summer from outreach programs, from summer programs, and I tell people to just reach out what's in their heart and teach. If we talk more to each other, then we learn more from each other. And any opportunity you have to travel around the world, do so, do so. It is an invaluable opportunity, and I know many of you have had similar opportunities for different reasons. You've created them. But you learn about people, and the one thing you learn that's so exciting, we're all people with similar goals and aspirations, similar problems. Thank you.
People knew there were Division I and Division II schools. Were you aware of that, and what did you think about that?
Were the divisions because the schools were not integrated?
That's right.
Because they didn't integrate
right.
schools until September of 1954.
Yeah.
We graduated in June of 1954.
That's right.
So the schools were segregated up until then. So therefore you had the 2 divisions, yes?
Yes, that's right. And I was outspoken starting in '51.
Okay.
And in part because I guess my early upbringing with Wayne Morse and Hubert Humphreys both of whom are two kind of very generally out-looking gentlemen, one a Republican initially, one a Democrat originally. And we talked, I mean, when you have 2 hours going to and from horses every weekend, you talk a lot, you hear a lot, and they were actually very nice. They listened to Amy and myself talk as well.
Does anyone have any closing things they'd like to say about your experience overall?
I think all of us did get to come visit the school 2.5 years ago, so I hope we get to see it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm insanely jealous of having a pool there. There was never a pool, and I kept saying there's room for it. I was not great in athletics, unlike several here, but I did what I did, and I enjoyed it, and I danced, and I was actually dancing semi-professional with the National Ballet Company at the time after hours. And this was my other life, but Wilson has always nurtured all kinds of special things, and I must say, I hope they still do.
Okay, that's a question. Some of you talked about your favorite teachers. Can you say why it was such a, what was favorite about this teacher?
Miss Best, and you agreed.
I agree
because-
too.
And you too.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
was strong, she didn't waver, you didn't get a chance to, you followed her rules, and it benefited. By the time you
And
got
you
to
learned
college,
English.
you knew just what was the.
You learned.
Yes, you learned.
Her style was very crisp.
Yes,
It was not
very.
warm and fuzzy. She'd
No.
walk in and say, all right, we're going to read Shakespeare today.
Right.
Now, have you all read this?
You
And she
better
was-
have.
You better
Yeah,
have, or else you
yeah.
ought to run out and say you're sick at your tummy or something.
Yeah.
She
But
was
it-
tough, but she
in the
was
long run,
fabulous.
it was beneficial.
Yeah.
Anybody else about one of your favorite teachers? What you remember
I was
about
very, very direct person. I mean, he didn't beat around the bush. He just came out and said what he thought. And I always respect somebody that speaks their mind.
And you also talked about the sock hop. Sock hop.
Sock hop,
Is-
it
what-
was
you-
in
what
the
do you-
gym.
What do you remember about it? Can you describe it? You walk in, what was it like? What were the
The
decorations?
students decorated with the things, and you wore socks, and it was just, and the Santa swing was beautiful.
The girls were
Also in
on
the
one
gym.
side, the boys were on the other, if you remember that.
But the Santa swing, you had a date, usually. We used to date then, instead of going out in groups, and you waited by the phone to see who was gonna call for a date. And it was fun, double date, dating. Do you date anymore?
Yeah.
You wait by the phone for the boy to ask you?
Or do that.
So they
used to
probably
wait.
text. On the computer, right, what's a phone?
I know. But
Texting.
The girls,
Yeah.
at least, you would never think of calling the boy to take you out.
Well, nowadays, girls
You had
do.
to wait.
Yeah.
Do you
Right.
still have a lot of group activities, so where unequal numbers of girls and boys will just go?
Yeah. Sure.
What about the senior prom?
Oh, I didn't bring it. I have a
remember
picture.
What do you remember?
Oh,
Do you have a
Wait,
theme? Did it have-
I'm sorry?
Did it have a theme?
Oh, I don't think so. I was not a senior when I went to a seniors, I think I must have been a junior, when I went to the senior prom, and we were with another couple, and they wanted to go to Skyline Drive to see the sunrise. And I cried all the way home, because I knew I was gonna get in big trouble getting home after sunrise, senior prom night.
And it was at the Shoreham Hotel, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, it was at the Shoreham Hotel.
The Gusty's there.
It was very nice.
Yeah.
So was there an after prom? After the prom? Was-
Right, there was a party, and I remember driving out
The Golden
all
Pair.
the way out Wisconsin Avenue, where the Bank of Bethesda, all the way out where it split Wisconsin Avenue, to somebody's house. It was a girl's house. We had to go way out in the suburbs. And I can't remember whose house
But they weren't
but it was a girl. I remember that.
So they weren't organized, they were just in different people's houses or whatever?
Well, we went to parties before the prom.
Went to a
And
lot
I
of
wanted to say
parties.
that at that time, we wore formals. And we would go to Chandler's, or we would go to, to get our shoes dyed to match our dresses.
Those
Yeah.
tulle dresses that itched.
Yeah.
Remember
And
them?
indeed
And
they
the
did.
crinolines,
Yes,
what?
They did,
They itched, and the crinolines,
Yeah.
those dresses stood out like this.
So we would go to a party first, usually a gathering, maybe 15, 20 people, somebody, and then we would all go to the dance, and the dances were at the Shoreham. And we wore these beautiful dresses, and then we all got orchids
Mhm.
or flowers.
Gardenias,
Yeah,
the
gardenias.
turned brown by the
Or
end.
here,
And the
right.
music,
I
and the
didn't
music
know.
was the wonderful band music from the 50s.